The arena was a perfect circle of polished obsidian, its surface gleaming under the artificial sunlight of the warship's combat deck. Around it, the crew of the Kavani dreadnought gathered in eager anticipation, their eyes locked onto the center of the ring where the duel was about to begin. Commander Sylvex stood with her hands behind her back, posture flawless, her long ears twitching in mild impatience. This was a waste of her time. The human, what was his name? Gabriel? Had been captured during a skirmish on the mining colony of Drenthos 4. He should have been processed like all the others, sent to the labor pits or executed for defying the Empire. Instead, he had demanded a duel for his freedom. The sheer arrogance. The challenge had been laughable, but protocol dictated that a prisoner who invoked the right of single combat could not be denied if they had the means to fight. It was a tradition rooted in the old ways of her people, meant for warriors, not for some primitive brawler who barely understood the weight of the blade he had requested. Sylvex sighed, casting a glance at the man being unshackled across from her. He stretched his arms lazily, rolling his shoulders with the easy confidence of someone who had no idea they were about to die. "Well," Gabriel said, rubbing his wrists where the restraints had been. "Wasn't expecting spa treatment, but I guess you don't do hand massages in captivity." Sylvex blinked. "What?" "Nothing," he said with a grin. "Just getting the blood flowing before I embarrass you in front of your friends." The gathered warriors erupted into laughter. Some jeered, others smirked in amusement, but Sylvex remained stone-faced. Her kind valued wit, but they valued discipline more. A joke would not save him. Gabriel, to his credit, didn't seem the least bit rattled by the reaction. Instead, he studied her with an expression she found irritatingly casual. She had fought hundreds of duels, had stood across from some of the finest swordsmen in the galaxy. None of them had ever looked at her like she was a curiosity. He was broad-shouldered but lean, his frame built for endurance rather than brute strength. His dark hair was unkempt, a stray lock falling across his forehead, and his face bore the subtle scruff of someone who had been too busy fighting for his life to worry about shaving. But his eyes, those were sharp. Too sharp for a man who was supposedly walking to his death. "Are you done stalling?" she asked, voice smooth but edged with irritation. Gabriel smirked. "Oh, is that what I'm doing? Thought we were just soaking in the atmosphere. It's not every day you get to fight on a spaceship. Nice place, by the way. Love the whole ominous war machine aesthetic." Sylvex had him pegged now. He was one of those warriors, the kind that used humor as a shield, that threw words around like feints, hoping to shake their opponent before the fight even began. She had no patience for such nonsense. With a sharp motion, she unclasped the fastenings on her combat tunic, letting the regal fabric of her overcoat slide from her shoulders. Beneath it, she wore the skin-tight armor of a duelist, the obsidian weave designed for speed over protection. Her blade, a curved beauty of folded plasma steel, pulsed faintly in her grip as she activated its monomolecular edge. Gabriel's smirk faltered slightly. "Huh, fancy." He reached to the side, and one of the ship's quartermasters handed him a sword, an older Kavani training blade, built for ceremonial duels rather than actual combat. Unlike hers, it had no energy edge, no enhancement, just good old-fashioned metal. Sylvex arched an eyebrow. "You didn't request a more suitable weapon?" Gabriel tested the weight of the blade, giving it an experimental swing. "Nah, this'll do." Sylvex almost pitied him. The ship's commander, an elder warrior with battle scars tracing his cheek, stepped forward and raised his hand. "By the ancient rites, the duel shall proceed. Victory is claimed by surrender, incapacitation, or death." His gaze flicked between them. "Begin." Gabriel barely had time to set his stance before Sylvex was upon him. She moved like a whisper of wind, striking fast and precise. The first blow should have taken him in the shoulder, a clean, decisive hit to end the fight before it even began. It didn't. Gabriel twisted at the last second, narrowly avoiding the strike. He stumbled slightly, regaining his footing, but there was no denying it. He had dodged. Sylvex's eyes narrowed. Interesting. She pressed forward, sending a flurry of rapid strikes his way, Each one was designed to test his limits, to break his balance, to force an opening where she could end it cleanly. Gabriel met her blade with his own, the clang of steel on steel ringing through the arena. He wasn't as fast as her, but he was quick enough. More importantly, he was adaptive. Every move he made was sharper than the last, as if he were adjusting to her attacks in real time. She struck high, he ducked. She feinted left, he didn't take the bait. She slashed low, he blocked. The force of it sent him skidding back, but he held firm, his arms steady despite the impact. His eyes met hers, and to her growing frustration he grinned. "Not bad," he said, breathing hard. "You're not bad at all." Silvex's long ears twitched. "You are still standing," she admitted. "That is unexpected." Gabriel rolled his neck, wincing slightly. "Yeah, trust me, I surprise myself sometimes too." The crowd murmured now, a shift in tone from amused to intrigued. They had expected a slaughter, not a contest. Silvex's grip on her sword tightened. She wasn't done yet. With renewed determination, she launched herself at him once more. The moment Silvex surged forward, Gabriel knew he was in trouble. Her speed was incredible, far beyond anything he'd encountered before. She moved with an almost liquid grace, her long ears twitching as she adjusted mid-motion, predicting his counters before he even made them. Gabriel barely had time to react before her blade came down in a vicious arc, aimed at his collarbone. He twisted, the strike grazing past his shoulder, close enough that he swore he felt the heat of the energy blade hum against his skin. Okay, I get it," he said, backpedaling. "You're fast. You've made your point. Maybe now we do that thing where we sit down and talk about our feelings instead?" Silvex didn't answer. She pivoted, using the momentum of her missed strike to bring her sword around in a sweeping horizontal slash. Gabriel barely managed to block. The impact rattled his arms, sending a jolt up to his elbows. She was strong, too, stronger than someone her size should be. He had fought enhanced soldiers before, cybernetically reinforced warriors who could tear through bulkheads with their bare hands. But Silvex wasn't augmented, at least not in any way he could see. She was just that damn good. He grimaced. "All right, note to self, stop making her mad." Silvex's expression remained unreadable, but there was something in her golden eyes now, something sharpened by focus. "Speak less, fight better," she said, punctuating the statement with a sudden thrust. Gabriel sidestepped, barely, but she had anticipated that, twisting her blade at the last second. The monomolecular edge flicked toward his ribs, and only through sheer reflex did he manage to deflect it. The tip still caught the fabric of his shirt, slicing a clean line across the material. He glanced down at the fresh cut in his clothing, eyebrows raised. "Hey, this was my last decent shirt. Do you know how hard it is to find something that fits in an alien prison?" Silvex's lips twitched, but she didn't take the bait. Instead, she shifted her stance, angling her body in a way that made his stomach sink. She was getting serious now. Fantastic. Gabriel exhaled, rolling his shoulders. This wasn't going to be won by luck alone. He needed to be smart. Silvex struck again, but this time he was ready. Instead of reacting on instinct, he watched, really watched, how she moved. She was precise, but she wasn't reckless. Every step, every slash, every calculated pivot was designed to dismantle him piece by piece. But there was something else too, a pattern. Gabriel adjusted his footing. The next time she lunged, he didn't just dodge, he angled himself perfectly, letting her own momentum carry her forward just a fraction too much. It wasn't much, but it was enough. For the first time since the fight began, she was off balance. Gabriel struck. It wasn't a flashy move, just a simple, well-timed step-in, coupled with a sharp tap of his blade against the exposed part of her arm. A minor hit, but a hit nonetheless. The arena went silent. Silvex froze. Slowly, she looked down at where his blade had touched her. Gabriel grinned. "That's one." Silvex's ears twitched in what he could only assume was irritation. Or maybe mild confusion. Hard to tell with aliens. He barely had a second to appreciate the moment before she was on him again. Faster, sharper, more relentless than before. So much for making her doubt herself. Gabriel blocked, parried, dodged, ducked, swore under his breath, and then did all of those things again in rapid succession. His muscles screamed in protest, but he ignored them. If he stopped moving, he was dead. Sylvex was pushing harder now, her strikes heavier, her precision even more refined. But that was the thing about a fight like this. When both opponents were skilled, it wasn't just about technique, it was about endurance. And endurance? That Gabriel had in spades. He wasn't faster than her, he wasn't stronger than her, but he had spent years surviving against impossible odds, fighting battles he had no business walking away from. If this duel came down to who could outlast the other, he had a fighting chance. He could tell she was starting to feel it too. She wasn't tired, far from it, but she was adjusting more frequently now, adapting to his ability to read her movements. That meant she was thinking. Thinking meant hesitation. And hesitation, that was an opening. Gabriel feinted left, but at the last second, he shifted his weight, angling himself right instead. It wasn't a perfect trick. She saw through it almost immediately, but it was just enough to let him land another hit, this time a quick strike to the side of her leg. She hissed in frustration. "Two," he said, panting. "I gotta say, you're making me work for this." Sylvex exhaled sharply. "You fight differently than any human I have faced." Gabriel wiped sweat from his brow. "Is that a compliment? Because I'll take it." "It is an observation," she said. "Oh well, now I feel less special." Sylvex studied him, her sword steady, her expression unreadable once more. Gabriel frowned. There was something different in the way she was looking at him now. Not frustration, not anger. Curiosity. Great. He had impressed the scary alien warrior, which probably meant she was about to hit him even harder. She moved again, but this time, her strikes weren't just fast, they were unpredictable. She had stopped relying on patterns, stopped using the refined, precise style he had been reading so well. Now she was adapting to him just as quickly as he had adapted to her. Gabriel barely managed to block the next blow, then the next, then the next, and then pain. A sharp, stinging line traced across his side, her blade just grazing him. Not enough to wound, but enough to leave a mark. Sylvex stepped back. "That's one," she said, mirroring his earlier words. Gabriel winced, pressing a hand to his side. "Okay, yeah, walked into that one." The crowd murmured again, their excitement growing. They weren't watching an execution anymore. They were watching a real fight. Sylvex straightened, leveling her blade at him once more. "You are not like the others," she said. Gabriel smirked, despite the burning in his muscles. "Yeah, I get that a lot." The fight wasn't over, not by a long shot. Gabriel wasn't sure how much longer he could keep this up. His arms ached from the constant impact of Sylvex's blade. His breathing had become ragged, his muscles screaming in protest with every dodge, block, and counter. Yet despite all of it, despite the exhaustion creeping into his bones, he was still standing. That was more than he had expected, more, it seemed, than Sylvex had expected too. The Kavani commander paced in a slow circle now, studying him with a level of intensity that made him feel like a specimen under a microscope. Her golden eyes flicked over his stance, his grip, the way his chest rose and fell as he tried to regulate his breath. Gabriel wiped sweat from his brow and gave her a lopsided grin. "You look like you're trying to solve a math problem." Sylvex tilted her head, her long ears twitching slightly. "Mathematics is irrelevant to combat. Not if you're calculating your odds." She considered that for a moment, then, surprisingly, smiled. It was brief, but it was there. "My odds remain in my favor." Gabriel exhaled sharply. "Yeah, that tracks." A murmur rippled through the gathered Kavani warriors. This had gone on far longer than anyone had anticipated. They had expected a quick execution, a formality, a demonstration of their commander's superiority. Instead, they were witnessing something rare, an even match. Sylvex wasn't invincible. Gabriel wasn't overmatched. They were two fighters testing each other, pushing past their limits, and for some reason, that made him grin wider. He rolled his shoulders. "Well, as much fun as this has been, I should probably start winning now." Sylvex arched an elegant eyebrow. "You believe you can?" Gabriel shrugged. I mean, I believe in a lot of things. Gravity, coffee, the undeniable fact that most doors on alien warships are way too complicated. She lunged mid-sentence. Gabriel barely twisted out of the way in time. Oh, come on, I was talking. Then speak less, she countered, slashing at him again. He parried, stepping back. You ever heard of banter? Helps pass the time, keeps things light. Silvex's ears twitched, her movements fluid as she pressed forward. You joke to cover fear. Gabriel scoffed. Nah, I joke because it's funny. Another strike, another block. The dance continued. Silvex's precision was terrifying. Every motion was measured, each attack designed to expose his weak points. She wasn't just fighting him anymore, she was analyzing him in real time. But Gabriel wasn't just reacting anymore either. He was watching her, the way she shifted her weight, the micro-adjustments in her posture. She was testing him, and if she was testing him, that meant she wasn't sure how this would end. Gabriel smirked. That was something. All right, he said, exhaling. Let's change the tempo a little. This time, he didn't wait for her to attack. He surged forward, feinting right before pivoting left. Silvex reacted instantly, her blade flashing to intercept, only to realize too late that he had already shifted again, slipping inside her guard. For the first time, she was the one forced to retreat. The crowd reacted audibly, a ripple of surprise moving through them. Gabriel didn't let up. He pressed his advantage, forcing Silvex back step by step. She blocked his strikes with practiced efficiency, but the shift in dynamic was clear. She wasn't in control anymore, and she knew it. Their blades clashed, locked for a fraction of a second, and in that moment, Gabriel met her gaze. Still think humans are weak? Silvex's golden eyes burned. Then, to his absolute surprise, she laughed. Not a mocking laugh, not a derisive one. A genuine, amused laugh. Gabriel blinked. That's not the reaction I expected. Silvex twisted, breaking the blade lock, and stepped back. You continue to surprise me, he exhaled. Yeah, well, it's a hobby. She studied him again, but this time her expression was different. The amusement lingered. The frustration was gone. Gabriel wasn't sure if that was a good thing. Silvex adjusted her stance, lowering her blade slightly. I have fought many warriors, she said. Some skilled, some powerful, but none have fought like you. Gabriel tilted his head. Because I'm just that good? Because you do not fight to prove something. Her gaze sharpened. You fight to survive. Gabriel hesitated. She wasn't wrong. He had been in more battles than he could count, had faced enemies who outmatched him in strength, speed, and numbers. He had never fought for glory or honor or some grand ideal. He fought because he had to, because not fighting meant dying. Silvex stepped forward, lowering her blade entirely. Gabriel tensed. What's happening? I have my answer. Which is? Silvex tilted her head. You are not weak. Gabriel blinked. Oh, well, that's nice to hear. He paused. Wait, does that mean I win? Silvex exhaled. It means the duel no longer interests me. The crowd erupted in murmurs, some confused, others openly shocked. Gabriel lowered his own sword slightly, wary. That's not really an answer. Silvex's expression softened. Just a fraction. You fight as though you have always had to. A beat. I no longer wish to test that. Gabriel wasn't sure what to say to that. A moment of silence stretched between them before he cleared his throat. So, we call it a draw? Silvex's lips twitched. You wish to claim victory? I mean, I wouldn't say no. She considered him for a long moment, then turned to the onlookers. The duel is over. One of the senior Kavani warriors stepped forward, his brow furrowed. Commander, the prisoner. He is no longer a prisoner, Silvex said. Gabriel nearly choked. Wait, what? Silvex turned back to him. You fought for your freedom. You have it. Gabriel opened his mouth, then closed it. He wasn't about to argue, but still, he hadn't exactly expected this outcome. He glanced around, half expecting someone to protest, but the warriors merely watched, intrigued rather than outraged. Silvex sheathed her blade. You are interesting, Gabriel Shaw. He rubbed the back of his neck. I get that a lot. Sylvex nodded once, then turned on her heel. Come, she said. We have much to discuss. Gabriel stared after her, then exhaled. Well, he muttered, shaking his head, that could have gone worse. Gabriel followed Sylvex through the winding corridors of the Kavani warship, trying not to look as lost as he felt. It wasn't easy. For one, everything looked the same, sleek metallic walls with an eerie blue luminescence running along their seams. It was like walking through the inside of a high-tech submarine built by aliens with an obsession for mood lighting. For another, every Kavani warrior they passed stopped what they were doing to watch him, some with curiosity, others with barely concealed amusement. A few looked like they wanted to stab him just to see if he could block it. Sylvex, for her part, strode forward as if she hadn't just turned a deathmatch into an awkward walking tour. Gabriel cleared his throat. So, where are we going? Sylvex didn't slow. To the command deck. He blinked. Huh. And what exactly happens on the command deck? We command things. Gabriel exhaled through his nose. Right. Should have seen that one coming. Sylvex's long ears twitched, but she didn't turn. You are free now, Gabriel Shaw, but freedom on a warship is complicated. I'm getting that impression, he muttered, catching a glimpse of a particularly large Kavani warrior who was staring at him like he was an unsolved puzzle. The ship hummed beneath his boots, a constant low thrum of energy. Every now and then, a nearby console flickered, displaying alien text that meant absolutely nothing to him. The Kavani language was a mess of angular symbols that somehow looked both elegant and aggressively sharp at the same time. He leaned slightly toward Sylvex. You're not going to throw me out an airlock, are you? She didn't stop walking. Not unless you attempt to steal one of our ships. Gabriel snorted. Hey, give me some credit. I'd at least try to negotiate first. Sylvex gave him a sidelong glance, her lips twitching slightly before she faced forward again. That would be wise. They reached a large set of doors, far more ornate than the others. The moment Sylvex approached, the metal slid open with a soft hiss, revealing the command deck. Gabriel's eyebrows rose. The room was huge, layered in multiple levels with platforms that curved around a central display of a holographic star map. The map shimmered with faint energy lines, highlighting ships and planetary routes. Warriors moved between stations, monitoring screens filled with tactical readouts and shifting data. It was like stepping onto the bridge of some high-tech naval vessel, if that vessel was designed by a species that thought subtlety was for the weak. One of the officers turned as they entered, his expression unreadable. Commander, you return with the human. Sylvex inclined her head. He is no longer a prisoner. The officer's gaze flicked to Gabriel, studying him with a mixture of skepticism and something that might have been mild amusement. An interesting decision. Gabriel clapped his hands together. Oh, I love when people say that about me. Always makes me feel like I'm about to get shot into space. Sylvex gestured toward the map. We are currently en route to the nearest Kavani outpost. There, you will be given the opportunity to... A shrill chime interrupted her. Every Kavani on the deck snapped to attention. A new set of data flared across the main display, rapid pulses of alien script scrolling too fast for Gabriel to follow. The officer turned sharply. Commander, we are receiving a distress signal. Sylvex's ears twitched. Origin? Outer perimeter, Deep Space Sector 12. A Kavani scout vessel has engaged an unknown threat. Sylvex moved to the console, studying the readings. Gabriel glanced at the display over her shoulder, not understanding a single word, but recognizing the universal language of something just went horribly wrong. Hostiles? She asked. The officer hesitated. Unclear. The transmission was cut short. Sylvex's fingers tightened around the console. Gabriel rubbed the back of his neck. So, just to clarify, are we running toward the possible death trap or away from it? Sylvex turned her golden gaze to him. We are going to investigate. Gabriel sighed. Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. The ship shifted as the engines surged, altering their course. The holographic map adjusted, highlighting a trajectory toward the last known coordinates of the distress signal. Gabriel folded his arms. You know, I could have just taken my newly earned freedom and stayed out of this. Silvex smirked slightly. Then why are you still here? Gabriel opened his mouth, hesitated, then exhaled. Damn it, he muttered. I hate when people make good points. Silvex turned back to the display, her expression sharpening. Whatever they were flying into, Gabriel had a feeling this was going to get a lot more complicated before it got better. The Cavani warship streaked through the void of deep space, engines humming with a steady, almost ominous rhythm. The bridge was tense. Gabriel could feel it in the way the warriors moved, their postures sharp, their eyes locked on the swirling holographic display at the center of the room. Silvex stood at the command console studying the distress signal's last known coordinates. Her golden eyes flickered with unreadable emotion, but her grip on the console was firm, steady. Gabriel leaned against a nearby railing, arms crossed. So, on a scale of 1 to, we're about to get horribly vaporized, how bad are we talking? Silvex didn't look up. That depends on what we find. Gabriel sighed. You know, it's not reassuring when the person in charge is also in the dark. The officer from earlier, Gabriel had decided to call him Grumpy until further notice, turned his head sharply. We do not walk into battles unprepared, human. Gabriel raised an eyebrow. Buddy, if I had a credit for every time I heard that right before things went sideways, I could buy my own warship. Silvex's lips twitched, but she didn't comment. A new set of data flashed across the main display. The ship's AI chirped in a low, measured tone. Dropping out of warp in 10, 9. Gabriel rolled his shoulders. All right, here's hoping it's just a false alarm and not, say, a space kraken. Silvex blinked. A what? Don't worry about it. The ship decelerated with a lurch, real space unfolding around them as the stars snapped back into sharp focus. The moment they dropped out of warp, alarms blared. Contacts detected, Grumpy announced, his voice clipped. Multiple unknown vessels. Gabriel stepped closer, eyes narrowing at the display. A wreckage field stretched before them, pieces of metal drifting lifelessly. The remains of the Cavani scout vessel floated amid the debris, its hull blackened, its structure twisted from some violent impact. But that wasn't what made Gabriel tense. It was the other ships. Sleek, angular crafts, dark as the void itself, hovered near the wreckage, their forms pulsing faintly with strange, violet energy. They had no visible cockpits, no clear weapon systems, but something about them made the hair on the back of Gabriel's neck stand up. Silvex's expression darkened. Unknown vessels, hold position and identify yourselves. The only response was silence. Then one of the ships moved, not in the way a normal ship should move, not with the gradual acceleration of thrusters or the calculated drift of inertia. It flickered. One moment it was there, the next it was closer. Gabriel stiffened. Okay, that's unsettling. Shields up, Silvex ordered. Prepare weapons. The warriors moved with precision, but Gabriel could tell they were just as unnerved as he was. The way the enemy ships moved, it was unnatural, like they weren't flying but phasing. The lead ship pulsed once, then a voice, cold, mechanical, layered as if multiple tones spoke at once, resonated across the bridge. You do not belong here, Gabriel made a face. Oh great, cryptic threats, that's never a good sign. Silvex remained unmoved. Identify yourselves, the voice came again. This domain is not yours to trespass. Leave or be unmade. Gabriel shot Silvex a look. Okay, so I vote for leaving. Anyone else? Silvex didn't take her eyes off the ships. We do not retreat. Grumpy grunted. They destroyed a Cavani vessel. That alone demands response. Gabriel sighed. Cool, cool. Love the warrior pride thing, really. But counterpoint, those things just broke physics. The enemy ships flickered again, this time appearing even closer, their hulls rippling like liquid shadow. Then, without warning, they opened fire. Blinding arcs of violet energy lashed out, streaking toward the Cavani warship. The impact was immediate. Gabriel barely had time to brace as the entire vessel shuddered violently. Consoles flaring with emergency warnings, Silvex snapped into action. Return fire! The bridge erupted into chaos as Cavani gunners retaliated, launching a barrage of plasma rounds. The enemy ships twisted and flickered, dodging in ways that made Gabriel's stomach turn. "This is not how space battles are supposed to work," he shouted over the alarms. Sylvex ignored him, focused entirely on the battle. Gabriel could see it now, the calculation in her stance, the way her fingers danced across the controls. She was already adapting, already searching for patterns in the enemy's movements. Another blast rocked the ship. Grumpy cursed. "Shields failing." Gabriel clenched his jaw. "You got a plan here, Commander?" Sylvex's eyes flicked to him. Then she did something he didn't expect. She smiled. It was small, subtle, but it was there. Gabriel groaned. "Oh no, that's the 'I have a terrible idea' smile." Sylvex turned to her crew. "Target their energy signatures. Aim for disruption, not destruction." Grumpy frowned. "You want to disable them?" "They move by phasing through real space," Sylvex said. "If we disrupt that, they will be trapped." Gabriel hesitated. "That actually makes sense." He paused. "I hate that it makes sense." The Kavani weapons recalibrated, shifting frequencies. A new volley launched, this time striking true. One of the enemy ships flickered wildly, its form distorting. Then, suddenly, it was still. The Kavani bridge crew exhaled in unison. Sylvex nodded once. "Now we talk." Gabriel ran a hand down his face. "I swear, if the creepy space ghosts start whispering in my brain, I am officially quitting this adventure." Sylvex glanced at him. "You could have chosen to remain uninvolved." Gabriel gave her a tired smile. "Yeah, but where's the fun in that?" The captured enemy ship hung in the void like a frozen shadow, its strange, shifting surface no longer pulsing with that eerie violet energy. It looked less like a vessel and more like a piece of solidified night, smooth, seamless, and disturbingly unnatural. Gabriel frowned at it through the Kavani warship's main display. "You know, I gotta say, I miss the days when ships had, like, doors, windows, signs that say, 'Hi, we're totally normal space travelers and not eldritch nightmares.'" Sylvex, standing beside him, tilted her head. "Your ships have signs?" Gabriel sighed. "I feel like you're missing the point." She smirked slightly, but her attention remained fixed on the mysterious vessel. "Scan for life signs." One of the Kavani officers tapped at their console, waiting for the results. A moment later, their expression twisted in confusion. "Commander, I detect something aboard, but the readings are inconsistent." Sylvex's ears twitched. "Clarify." "The signatures are there one moment, then gone the next, as if they exist in fragments." Gabriel exhaled slowly. "Okay, I don't like that." Sylvex considered this for a moment, then turned sharply. "Prepare a boarding team." Gabriel blinked. "I like that even less." Grumpy, who Gabriel had now learned was actually named Raven, but honestly, Grumpy suited him better, folded his arms. "Boarding is a risk, Commander." Sylvex nodded. "But we must know what we are facing." Gabriel rubbed the bridge of his nose. "Right, so instead of running away like sensible people, we're gonna hop onto the ghost ship full of glitchy life signs. Cool, totally normal choice." Sylvex glanced at him. "You are under no obligation to come." Gabriel snorted. "And miss the chance to die horribly in an alien horror movie? Nah, I'm in." The boarding team moved through the docking tube, stepping onto the dark surface of the enemy ship. The moment Gabriel's boots touched the deck, he felt a chill, not physical, but something deeper, like the ship itself was studying them. The interior was just as unsettling as the exterior. Smooth walls that curved unnaturally, surfaces that didn't seem solid so much as shifting between states of matter. There were no panels, no buttons, no visible controls, just an endless, silent corridor. Gabriel adjusted his grip on the energy pistol he'd been given. "So, anyone else feel like we're walking through the digestive tract of some ancient space god?" Raven shot him a glare. "Be silent, human." Gabriel grinned. "Not a chance, buddy." Sylvex ignored them both, eyes scanning their surroundings. "Stay alert." The team moved carefully, weapons at the ready. Then, without warning, the walls flickered. Gabriel froze. "Oh, nope. A shape materialized ahead of them. It wasn't standing so much as forming. It shifted between dimensions, its limbs phasing in and out of reality. It had a vaguely humanoid outline, tall, elongated, but its head was featureless, a smooth void where a face should be. Then it spoke. "You have made a mistake." The voice didn't come from it, not in the normal sense. It vibrated through the air, sinking directly into Gabriel's skull. Raven immediately raised his weapon. "Identify yourself." The entity tilted its head. "You do not belong here," Gabriel exhaled. "Yeah, we got that message loud and clear the first time." Sylvex stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "Who are you?" The figure's body flickered again, phasing between solidity and nothingness. "We are what remains," Gabriel groaned. "Oh, great. Love a good cryptic answer. Always super helpful." Sylvex ignored him. "Remains of what?" The entity shifted, its form distorting. "A war that never ended." The team exchanged wary glances. Gabriel frowned. "So, just to clarify, are you ghosts, refugees, or some kind of ancient space malware?" The entity twitched. "We are the forgotten, the fractured. We exist between." Sylvex narrowed her eyes. "And you attacked our scout ship. Why?" For the first time, the figure seemed to hesitate. It was not meant. Gabriel raised an eyebrow. "So what, you accidentally murdered them?" "You entered the threshold." Sylvex stiffened. "The threshold?" The entity flickered again, its outline distorting. "This space is not yours. It never was. It belongs to the ones who came before." A deep, unsettling silence followed. Gabriel slowly turned to Sylvex. "You're going to tell me you don't know what they're talking about, aren't you?" Sylvex didn't answer. Raven tightened his grip on his weapon. "Commander, I do not trust this creature." Sylvex exhaled. "Nor do I." She turned back to the entity. "If this is your space, why have we never encountered you before?" The figure's voice softened, almost sorrowful. "Because you were never meant to." Gabriel frowned. "Okay, I don't like the way you said that." The ship suddenly shook, a deep resonating pulse that sent a wave of energy through the walls. The entity's form glitched, its body warping as if it were being pulled apart. "They have seen you." Sylvex's ears twitched. "Who?" The entity flickered wildly, its voice splintering. "Run!" And then it vanished. Gabriel inhaled sharply. "Oh, that's so not good." A new alarm blared from the Kavani warship's comms. "Commander!" A voice crackled through Sylvex's comm. "Multiple anomalies detected. Something is—" The transmission cut off. Sylvex spun toward the boarding tube. "Back to the ship, now!" Gabriel didn't need to be told twice. As they ran, the enemy vessel shuddered around them. The walls flickered, just like the entity had, as if the entire ship was phasing out of existence. Gabriel gritted his teeth. "Sylvex, please tell me we're not about to get trapped in another dimension." She didn't answer, which was really not comforting. The Kavani warship trembled as Gabriel and the boarding team sprinted through the docking tube, the weightless void flickering on either side of them. Behind them, the captured enemy ship was collapsing, not physically, but in a way that made reality itself seem wrong, like someone had started deleting it from existence, pixel by pixel. The smooth, eerie hull twisted and faded in and out, and Gabriel could swear he heard voices, echoing, layered, speaking in languages he didn't understand but somehow felt. "I swear, if we get haunted by interdimensional space ghosts, I'm quitting," Gabriel panted, leaping onto the warship's deck. Sylvex was right behind him, barking orders. "Seal the airlock, full emergency thrust away from the vessel." Raven slammed his palm against the control panel, and the docking tube detached just as the alien ship's form collapsed entirely into itself. The Kavani warship roared as its engines ignited, streaking away from the anomaly at full burn. On the main display, the enemy ship gave one final flicker, and then it was gone. Not destroyed, not exploded, just erased. Gabriel exhaled. "Okay, that was horrifying. Let's never do that again." Sylvex turned to the comms officer. "Damage report?" "Minimal. Shields held. No trace of the enemy vessel remains." Gabriel ran a hand through his hair. "Yeah, well, that's extra creepy. It's one thing when your enemies blow up, it's another when they just stop existing." Sylvex was silent for a long moment, her golden eyes locked onto the empty void where the ship had been. "They called this space the Threshold," Gabriel nodded, "and said we weren't supposed to be here, which, gotta admit, is not a great thing to hear after you've barged in." Robin scowled. "This changes everything. If there are entities that exist outside our understanding, beings that can manipulate reality itself, then—" He trailed off, as if unwilling to finish the thought. Gabriel sighed. Yeah. It means the whole galactic power structure might be built on top of something ancient and pissed off. Super comforting. Silvex's ears flicked, deep in thought. They weren't hostile. Robin scoffed. They destroyed our scout ship. Silvex shook her head. Number that entity said it was not meant. An accident. They were warning us, not hunting us. Gabriel rubbed his temples. Okay, I'm no expert in alien diplomacy, but accidentally vaporizing someone's entire crew is a pretty bad first impression. Silvex let out a slow breath. It means this is not a war. Not yet. Gabriel glanced at her. There was something different in her voice, something thoughtful. She had started this entire mess believing in absolute dominance, in strength as the defining measure of all things. But now she was considering other possibilities. Gabriel smirked. So what's the move, Commander? Do we file an official, "Oops, we stepped into forbidden space" apology letter? Silvex turned toward him, studying him for a long moment. Then, to his surprise, she chuckled. It was small, quiet, but unmistakably amused. You continue to be impossible. Gabriel grinned. It's a talent. Silvex shook her head, but her gaze was lighter than before. She turned back to the bridge. We will return to Kavani High Command and report what we've found. This is no longer a simple war. It is something greater. Raven frowned. And if they demand action? Silvex's expression hardened. Then we ensure they understand the truth. Gabriel leaned against a console. And what's the truth? Silvex's golden eyes flickered. That for the first time, the Kavani are not the strongest force in the universe. The bridge fell into a moment of contemplative silence. Then Gabriel clapped his hands together. All right. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think I deserve a drink. Maybe several. Silvex raised an eyebrow. You consume alcohol after near-death experiences? Gabriel scoffed. Lady, I consume alcohol because of near-death experiences. Silvex let out another quiet, amused breath, then turned to her crew. Set course for home. As the ship turned away from the threshold, leaving the void behind, Gabriel watched Silvex from the corner of his eye. She was different now. Still a warrior, still a commander, but something had changed. She had lost a battle against a human. She had faced an enemy that defied reality itself. And yet, instead of breaking, she had adapted. Learned. Gabriel smirked to himself. For someone who once believed herself invincible, Silvex had just proven something far more important. She was capable of change. And, in the vastness of space, that might just be the strongest thing of all.